Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that somebody asked me about, the psychology of making money, earning money, and the relationship that psychology has with money, because there's a lot of relationships with psychology in our subconscious and our conscious with our money, okay? So the very first one is that actually money is emotional to some extent, the relationship. It's not just logical. And I think anybody who believes, or most people who believe, that making money and money decisions are just rational are missing a very fundamental point about how we as individuals interpret money and how we feel about our money. Money is a very personal thing. A lot of people perceive it as not just gain from us getting items, but also safety, security, status. These are a lot of what is the foundation of money and finances, and all of that is emotional. It comes from one of our core psychological needs. And money and the emotions that we have about our finances, money, whatever it is, actually drives most of our choices based on research. So let's say, for example, you have a fear about taking risks and you think that being a contractor, although it makes more money, you won't have benefits. But you feel like at one point you can do that and maybe start your own business. Maybe that's your plan. But if somebody's a little bit more fearful of being without benefits or paying for benefits through the marketplace or whatever it is, that can actually avoid good opportunities. But this is still a concept of money, because part of the decision is you want to make more money. That's part of why you're stuck in limbo with this. However, you have this emotion, this fear that's holding you back. Whether it be for good or bad, that's up to you to decide, but that is an emotion. A lot of people can feel like they want more money, and that can also cause more reckless decisions. Maybe they want to expand their business more quickly than they can handle. Maybe they hire more employees without realizing that that'll be a lot more overhead expense than they reckon for, right? A lot of times pride can stop people from admitting mistakes that they've made about money before. And so a lot of these things create barriers in how they perceive their own finances. And in order to make more money, as a lot of people want, at least being aware of these emotions can really help, okay? Understanding that your emotions will be there. No matter how intelligent you are, how well versed you are about money, they're going to be there. What you do with those emotions is dependent on if you're aware of them, how you feel about them, what you believe them to stand for, whatever it may be. But not being aware of them, I feel like, can be a mistake. The next one is your background shapes your money choices. Most people, their mindset of their finances and money comes from your family experiences, your experiences as a child, where you grow up, even the state you're from, the country you're from, the city, whether you live more in like a more rural area, whether you live more in a urbanized area, your culture, your past successes and failures. And so what feels safe and risky to you may be totally different for somebody else. And neither is wrong or right, but it's just based on how you perceive things. And I think that that's a balance. I think that taking risks with your finances can have a lot of benefits, but at the same time, risks are there for a reason, right? It can also hurt a lot. But also, while playing safe can benefit you in some ways, it might not give you the opportunities you're looking for. And so it's your mindset. What do you believe? Where do you come from? There's some families, for example, and I've observed this in like family sessions and things like that. Some families, they feel very comfortable showing how much money they are making and then some, right? And so I have some couples where they spend a lot of money, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Buying a new truck, and they don't pay it in full. They're like financing it, which is fine. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is it's a very large payment, and maybe the husband, he has, a previous family, and so he has to pay child support, and now with this family, and maybe he's working a couple jobs, whatever it is, and his wife's working, maybe she's a nurse and she does overnight shift or whatever it is. So now there's like a lot of things going on, and they're actually living paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes their family stressors are, hey, I only have like $50 in my bank account. This is an example, right? But their experience and their culture is that they want to not show, they want to at least keep up with other people, which is why they still are buying new trucks. They're still buying a new house. They're still taking their children on vacation. They're still buying their children the newest phone because they want to keep up. Because in their mind, their perspective of money is a status or a perspective of who I am as a person. It's very tied to their self-worth. Whereas another person, and this is kind of how like how I grew up, or my dad kind of grew up, and my mom too, like you can make a lot of money or you're well off or, financially stable, whatever it is, but you don't look like it, right? That's how I was taught. Like, and that's not wrong or right either, because at the same time, then you kind of cheat yourself out of vacations, or you're still doing whatever you need to do when other people are enjoying themselves. Or like my friends, they buy like a lot of like designer stuff, and I feel like, to me, I don't want that. Like I'd rather have something that's, still in fashion, but doesn't need to be like so expensive. Like I'm good with whatever it is, right? And everyone's different, because I feel like they really enjoy their designer stuff and I enjoy my perspective. And so everybody's different in the past successes and failures. We all have our own successes and failures about money. I have had mine, everyone's had theirs. And I think understanding where our background of who we are, we're all different, shapes how we perceive money. I think that's very important, okay? The next one is actually, I do think patience is something that's just really important for finances. And research shows that as well. What do I mean? One of the biggest advantages of money is time, not talent. Small, consistent actions add up. And compounding rewards does need patience. Trying to get rich fast, I feel like, can backfire. And people who stick to those good habits tend to outperform those who chase these types of shortcuts. I think it's really important. The next one is, if you really are trying to build wealth, risk is inevitable. Survival is kind of part of that, but risk, the concept of risk and survival and how that computes within you and how you perceive, is very important. Basically, in short, you can't really avoid risk, but you can manage it. Does that make sense? The goal for most people financially is not necessarily to, I guess, like win big once, right? You want to be able to do that and sustain that. You want to be able to survive in that perspective. It's basically about, you don't want to do decisions that wipe you out completely, but you want to make decisions that are able to bring you up to where you need to go. But maybe you can make a risky decision. It does pay off. I think that's a balance. Where is your survival and where you are and how you feel safe in comparison to your risk threshold, okay? The next one is control what you can control and try not to control what you can't. This is in general with life. You can't control the market, luck, other people. However, you can control how you spend, how you save, how you react to wins and losses, how you strategize your business, how you do your taxes, what you use for your write-offs. Those things you can control, right? If you are, I'm not going to talk much about write-offs and things like that. I don't study that. I'm literally studying psychology, completely different. But you guys know what your write-offs are, or what you need to do for your financial situation, whatever it is. And sometimes people pay attention to what that is before they actually write those things off, because they know, okay, if I do this, this is beneficial for me, but it's also beneficial for my business, so it's a write-off, whatever it is. Talk to your own, tax advisors, accountants, whoever it is, right? The next one is knowing your minimum and comfort, like your minimum financial situation for your comfort. I think this is very important. I actually, for me personally, I have a very specific number that I know I can live with and I'll be comfortable with my current financial situation. A lot of people do not know this number because they either make it too small or too big. And I think the reason why this number is important, because it allows you to budget around it and know what risk you can afford to do. If you can live off, for example, $3,000, just a number. I'm not offending anyone or judging anyone. I don't care. If you can live off $3,000, you could, let's say, take a risk for a business if you have, let's say, $50K saved, and that is particularly saved for you to make risks, not like your taxes or whatever it is. If you have that, you can make that risk because you can allocate where that goes, right? Whereas let's say for you to live comfortably, you need $10,000 and in your savings, you only have $12,000. That might not be the best time to make a risk until you fill up more of your savings, depending on you, okay? And it's very important to know that. Also, I think the last one, there is research, okay, that regarding like personality and psychology, things of that nature, your personality does affect your financial behavior, okay? Traits like anxiety, risk tolerance, trauma, these things do affect how you spend money. People with higher anxiety, they tend to save more and avoid risk, while those who have higher self-control, they make more rational investment decisions. And so managing your self-esteem, your self-worth, and your mental health can actually help you to make more money. So I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.